Hello there. So today I'm going to talk about one of my all-time favorite films, which is this one. Okay, Blade Runner from the legendary Ridley Scott. Um, I suppose this was a bit of a watershed moment in sci-fi history, really, because um, it changed the way a lot of films are made. Just in the same way Star Wars had done previously, but in a different sense. Okay, Star Wars really introduced sort of a different level of action and cinematic sort of epicness. It changed everything. If you go back before Star Wars, the sci-fis of the 70s were quite different, you know? They had a very different quality to them. Um, Although Star Wars was brilliant, it sort of lacked sort of realism in certain ways. And that's something that Ridley Scott really brought. Firstly, with Alien, which has sort of grittiness to it. Thanks very much to H.R. Geiger's design work. I might do a video about Alien maybe in the future, possibly. But anyway, after doing that, he did Blade Runner, which was a very costly project actually, because it was so ambitious. And it was successful, but not really the huge success that the studio may have wanted. But I think in terms of making great cinema, it really was a massive, massive success, and it's gone on to become an absolute cult classic that's well loved, and many versions of the film being brought out on DVD. I've got both the director's cut, pardon me, excuse me, the director's cut and the final cut. So take your pick, and of course there's the original cinematic version. I think there's about 4 different versions available to buy on DVD or Blu-ray. And of course this really established Harrison Ford, who was already very famous by this point, as quite a serious actor, because he gave a great performance, as did so many other actors like Sean Young, who's largely disappeared, and Rutger Hauer. That really put him on the map, and Daryl as well gave a great performance too. So you got a really excellent cast. Most of them not really very well known. The only person who was well known really was actually Harrison Ford, who had taken a while to get established, but as I said, Star Wars had made him like an international superstar. This is actually set in, I think, slightly before the time we're in now. So Philip K. Dick wrote the story that this is based on, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is a book I've actually read. So this departs from the book quite a lot. And you've got sort of these clones, sort of artificial people called replicants. I'm not going to tell you anything much about the story, only that it is sort of a futuristic film noir, which is a sort of detective story, and a love story as well. And it's very, very gritty. You can see actual real dirt and stuff like that. It's got a sort of realism that just wasn't there in films like Star Wars. And it changed the way that sci-fis are made, very much so. And it's still very much regarded as one of the best movies of the 20th century, certainly the later part of the 20th century. And I'd have to say I agree. And one of the parts of that which was vital was the late Vangelis, the composer who wrote music for many films. His score for this film is absolutely beautiful and very futuristic, and it still really holds up very well today. 40 plus years later, it still sounds wonderful. In fact, it's so good, I actually bought the CD of the soundtrack for this because I just fell in love with Vangelis's music. So this is a film I God knows how many times I've watched this film, but I still enjoy it every time. It's wonderful. It's a fantastic story. Everything about this film um, is wonderful. If you're a sci-fi buff, or even if you're not, even if you just like a sort of odd romance set in the future and you're not particularly into sci-fi, you might find this film interesting. So, I mean, I can't praise this film highly enough. I absolutely love it. So, I'm not going to say much more. I could probably talk about this for hours and bore you all to death. So, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say, if you're interested to see a sci-fi that's you haven't seen before, and you want something that's sort of a bit more stimulating, a bit more cerebral, and not just loads of explosions and stuff, then this is probably the film for you. And go watch it. Okay, that's it for today. Bye for now. Please give this a like if you enjoyed my sort of summary of the film. And see you next time. Bye for now.